So our topic for today is navigating the challenges of online learning. And we are going to feature real student experiences as well in this session. And please note that this is not your typical technical webinar, but just an information session webinar. This will be presented by our digital learning manager. Her name's Natalie Deng. We also have two student ambassadors who will be sharing their experiences later on. They are Jonathan Constable and Lee Kant. So later on, they will be introducing and telling us more about themselves. So first, let me go ahead and let you know about the other details about this webinar. So, since this is an information session, not a technical one, we won't be giving out certificates, but we can send you a copy of the slides and the video recording as well in the next 2 business days via email. So, please monitor your inbox and your junk folder as well for that because we will be sending a copy of the PDF slides and a link to the video recording. And we would like to also give you a glimpse about what EIT is about, or the important details about EIT. So we are known to be dedicated to ensure that our students would receive a world-class education and gain skills that you can immediately implement in the workforce. And as engineering specialists, we are one of the only institutes in the world specializing in engineering. So we deliver professional certificates, diplomas, advanced diplomas, undergraduate and graduate certificates, and higher education courses as well, like bachelor's and master's degrees, and a doctorate of engineering. And our programs are industry oriented. They're also designed by industry experts, and that is from our pool of lecturers and sourced authors as well. And that is to ensure that you as a student would graduate with cutting edge skills that are valued by employers, and also the content of the program remains current with the rapidly changing technology and industry developments. Aside from that, we also have our world class Australia accredited education. So, our vocational programs, as well as our higher education degrees, are registered and accredited by the Australian government. And we also have programs that are also recognized under the three engineering accords under Engineers Australia, which are the Sydney Accord, the Dublin Accord, and the Washington Accord. We also have industry experienced lecturers, and they are pulled from different countries around the world. And of course, they are not just lecturers, but also experienced engineers and subject specialists with applied knowledge. And the technologies employed by EIT for both online and on campus would enable us to source our lecturers from a large global pool of expertise. That's why we source them from all over the world. And we also have a unique delivery model. So we deliver our programs via a unique delivery methodology that makes use of our live and interactive webinars and an international pool of expert lecturers, as mentioned earlier. We also have our dedicated learning support officers, or what we call LSOs, and they are the go to persons of our students throughout their entire study. So we make sure that student support is being prioritized. And we also have state of the art, such as hands on workshops, remote laboratories, and simulation software. And that's it about EIT. And I hope that this would help you in deciding whether or not to have a course at EIT. But if you have more questions, you can always contact us. We will be featuring our contact information later at the end of this session. And now, let us go ahead and start our webinar. Natalie, our presenter, will now introduce herself to us.
Thanks, Lisa. So this is what it says on the box, but essentially I've been at EIT for 8 years, so I've seen quite a lot of changes in that time. I started off as a learning support officer, and now I head up the digital learning team, which is a new team for us. Lisa's also on it. So my focus now is on creating engaging experiences for students, engaging in educational technology, and making sure that the experience of our students online is engaging and, useful, as well as reflecting what they actually want to get out of their courses. I've got a Bachelor in Linguistics, Set 4 in Training and Assessment. I'm starting my postgrad in a couple of weeks as well. I also have a young family, and so completely understand the stresses and challenges that come with balancing all of that. So I'm going to go through today a variety of things, touching on some stuff, not in great depth, but yeah, hopefully you'll get some useful information from it. Okay, Lisa, do you want to talk about our student ambassadors or gentlemen who are presenting? No, cool. We'll jump straight into it.
Okay.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Right. So, this is what we'll be covering today. We're going to think about online learning in general. What are the challenges of online study and why you should study as an adult at all? I'm going to talk about our approach to online learning a little bit so that you can understand how we pedagogically structure our courses and also how we try and eliminate some of those challenges and hurdles for online learners and adult learners, which is a lot of our cohort. I'm going to talk about the art of a healthy work-life balance just a little bit, and at the end there is a self-assessment quiz that you can go away and do if you want. You could spend weeks learning this stuff, right? But I'm just going to cover a very surface level sort of introduction to it. And then I'm going to talk about our course offerings very briefly, just so you know the scope of what we do and how you might want to, plan your learning in the long run. Great. So the first thing I want to start with is a scenario. I'm going to go through this and then I want you to think about it over the course of this presentation. We'll come back to it at the end and then I'll get your sort of feedback and thoughts on it. So it's Friday evening, 6:30 p.m., and you finally clock out after a marathon day at work. Your mind is racing with a critical project that's behind schedule, but as you reach for your phone to relax, reality hits you. Your online thermodynamics course has a looming Sunday deadline, your child's soccer practice is bright and early tomorrow morning, and your partner just mentioned your dinner reservation for tomorrow night, and the stress is starting to build. This is a very real kind of situation for many of our students. A lot of our LSOs and staff have seen this sort of thing come through, and it's definitely challenging to balance. It's not something that necessarily comes naturally, and it's, as you practice and you get exposed to it more, you get better at it, but it's really challenging. So I want you to think about how being in this situation might impact your focus and your motivation to study and what strategies you could use to get back on track and make sure that you're hitting all those goals and dividing your attention effectively. So in the chat, if you're comfortable doing so, I want you to put in any concerns or challenges or limitations that you might encounter either personally or that you think might just be a general sort of challenge for online students in pursuing online education. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that if anyone wants to put anything into the chat. Shy group. Yeah, thanks, Will. So time management, being able to dedicate time for study, definitely a big one. Anyone else? Difference in time zone, yep, very relevant. Financial issues, yep, thanks, Collins. Cool. And availability of networks, so technology, thanks, Theophilus. Right, you guys have sort of hit on the main points. I think you all know, if you give it a little bit of thought, the things that you've maybe considered in even pursuing further education as an adult or even pursuing education for the first time or online. So we've got financial limitations, and that can be whether you're working, taking a break from work, if you've got contract work, as those in the engineering profession often do. The work is not always consistent, so that can definitely come into play. Age can sometimes be considered an issue, although I would encourage you to not ever think of it as an issue. We have students from 18 all the way up to 70 something and everything in between. So age, I don't think, needs to be a barrier to education at all. Time pressures is a huge one, so balancing of that work and family and study and just finding the hours in the day. Having support from your employer and your family, or if you're self employed, finding a balance with that can also be challenging. It's great if you have that support, but it's not always the case. A lack of confidence in returning to a beginning study can sometimes be a more personal issue. If you haven't studied for a while, it can be a little bit daunting, or if you're not familiar with online study as well, completely understandable. And technology. So, again, our students are all over the globe and have varying access to technology, to internet, to reliability of internet connections and things like that. So, all of those can be barriers, but we're aware of them as a provider and we try to help mitigate those as much as we can to make your education journey a little bit more seamless. So I'm going to talk, that's the challenges, right? Let's talk about the value of lifelong learning. So, what are the positive reasons to drive you on? You probably know these since you're already here, but let's go through them anyway. So, we've of course got evolving technology, so AI, virtual machines, automation, all of the changes in technology that may actually be inspiring you to continue to study, or you might just want to prepare yourself to future proof your own job. There's increased demand, of course. So engineering is in high demand for individuals all over the world at all different career stages. So whether that's new young engineers fresh to the field or very experienced professionals who might be leading projects or problem solving and are looking to refine those skills. Learning is a lifelong pursuit. We're very much about that at EIT. The workplace is evolving quickly and keeping your skills fresh and up to date is always critical. And lastly, online and flexible learning can really overcome some of the barriers of traditional bricks and mortar kind of classrooms. And so having the ability to study without, from the comfort of your own home or your own workplace is a real drive, real motivator to help you study. And that lets you balance some of those things that we talked about earlier. So I'm going to give you some data quickly. Obviously, everyone has their own reasons for study, but we find there are some trends that tend to appear. This data is from thousands of our students over the years, and I've looked at why they actually study with us, and you can see that, far and away, the most popular reason is wanting extra skills for their job. And I'm not sure how many of you that applies to, but it's certainly a very big driving factor for EIT when we're developing our courses. We look for lots of industry input. We have industry panels. We have, as Lisa said, instructors and lecturers from actual different fields of industry. And it's really important to us to keep it really tied to actual job outcomes. The other second most popular reason is to get a better job or promotion, and then personal interest or self-development, which is very noble. And then it's a requirement of their job. So, perhaps if your employer needs you to get a particular qualification. And then we have the more nuanced ones that still represent, hundreds of students, which is trying for a different career, developing their own business, to change career paths or to start their own business. Okay, so in the chat, and I thank you to those who are already who've already told me where they are. That's wonderful. If you're comfortable, if you want to put your country or city in the chat, and we can sort of get a bit of an idea where everyone's from, that'd be great. I'll give you a minute or so to do that. So we've got Ghana, we've got Melbourne. I'm in Perth, Australia at the moment. Tanzania, Nigeria, Port Moresby and PNG, another Ghanan, Solomon Islands, South Africa, Nairobi. Very early morning for some of you. Mauritius. More Ghana, great. To give you an idea, our student age is roughly about 32 on average. It gears a little bit lower for on campus and a little bit higher for online, but you can think about where you sit in there as well. Awesome. Lots from Ghana today. Wonderful. Great. So this is where the top 50 or so countries where our students come from. We have had students from over 100 countries in the course of our history, closer to 120, 150. But these are the top 50. You can see we've obviously got a big presence in Australia and South Africa. That's kind of where we started. Our dean is from South Africa, and he's the one who built this company. We're also branching out to other parts of the world as well. So South America, the States, New Zealand, Asia. And it's not just our students. We have lecturers and instructors from all over the globe as well. So whether that's Bello from Kalgoorlie in Western Australia or Hardy in Spain, Dr. Hub in Spain, we aren't limited by geography as to where we can find our academic staff. And that gives us a real really good access to the best minds in the industry who are also excellent teachers. And we're not limited by who can come and teach in campus necessarily. And it allows us to work with real experienced experts in very specific and sometimes really niche engineering fields. Okay, so let's talk about our solutions. So there's three sort of ways that we deliver our courses to ensure that you have online engagement and to help our students with their, a particular profile of students who are often working adults, blended learning, dedicated support, and digital learning. Let's go through those a little bit. So blended learning, essentially, historically, your traditional classroom would be the sage on a stage, chalk and talk kind of lecturer standing up there disseminating information to students. So they might be just reading notes on a board or writing things on the board, not necessarily a lot of back and forth with the students. And then the students take that away and kind of have to figure it out themselves or with each other if they're lucky. In a flipped classroom, which is what we try to do pedagogically and in terms of education, is to give our students the material. So that might be pre-recorded content, readings, videos, other multimedia that students can look at to begin, build up their understanding, and then come to live sessions, or if they can't attend live, they can have emails and other communications, and build that understanding more collectively. Learning is definitely best when it's done collaboratively in a conversation. So we always aim to have a flipped classroom where we can focus that tutorial or live webinar time on running through case studies and having really good conversations with a lot of our students who work in industry. That's where so much of the learning comes from, their insights, their specific experiences. Maybe they've worked on a particular project, and you can really learn from other students, as much as you can your instructor. This is a little example of what a slide might look like in a presentation. So you'll often have, the instructor or lecturer writing on the slide, like this, or highlighting things, walking through, sharing a video, sharing a screen. We use web conferencing software. This is one of them that you're on right now, which is Blackboard. We use Big Blue Button for most of our courses now, or sometimes Teams for smaller sessions, recordings, one-on-ones. And most courses will have a live session every 1 to 2 weeks, so depending on what your course is. Attendance is often required at the live sessions, but if you can't attend live, and this is where things like time zone limitations come in, you can always watch the recording and submit a summary, or there might be a quiz that you need to do to get that grade or to get that pass mark. So we understand that it's not always possible to attend every single live session. And so we do have measures in place that will allow you to get a really good experience, even if you can't make every session. So as Lisa mentioned before, our learning support officers are really fundamental to what we do, and a little bit unique to our model as well. So they support the students for the duration of their studies. You might have one LSO for the whole course, you might have a few if you're doing higher education, for each unit. And they're sort of the touch point between your content, your instructors or lecturers, and your administration. So our LSOs are there to really just be that person that you can consistently talk to. You can email them, you can ask your questions. No question is a bad question. They can provide you direction to, academic resources if you need, or, to improve your English or your math, or just to help you, work through your online learning journey. They're brilliant at it and really important and really valuable in success in your course. So, speaking of learning additional academic skills, a lot of engineering professionals can get a little bit rusty with their knowledge on maths, physics, chemistry, especially if you're not using it in your everyday career, or if it's been a while since you've been at school, or even if you just didn't study a lot of it in school. So, it's hard to do any engineering qual without some fundamentals. So we do have these courses here, which I think are available on our website, but I'll see if I can put in some links for you. Bear with me. As well as when you're actually in the course, if you think you need a little bit of additional support with these, you can ask your LSO, and we sometimes have, mini courses or just videos that you can watch and things like that. Oh, that didn't paste very nicely, but those are the links. So let's talk about technology because, of course, we're the Engineering Institute of Technology. We wouldn't be doing very well if we didn't have that. It's the absolute core of what we do. We're always looking for ways to better the student experience through new tools and technology. And that could be in our remote labs or research from our accomplished academic team. They're constantly doing new research projects or research and development. They're presenting at conferences. They're very actively engaged in the field of engineering. And we want to meet the rapidly changing needs of the world of work. So they're engaged with industry as well. We have new technologies that we're looking at. AI is, of course, a huge developing area. I know students are always looking for more customization and personalization of their learning, and that's something we're very interested in exploring as well. And then, of course, Moodle, which is your learning management system, and that's where all of your resources are. So that will be your materials, your reading guides, that's where you submit your assessment. So everything is kind of in one place, which does make it a little simpler. I want to talk for a minute about our remote and virtual labs specifically. When you're studying with us, a lot of your assignments, or at least one assignment in most modules or units, will have a practical component. And we have virtual laboratories set up. There's a few of them around the world. And those are essentially virtual machines, but you can, in live time, access different pieces of software, and we have quite a lot of software on there, and see the immediate actions of your work. So let's say it's a PLC, you might be, switching traffic lights and looking at signals, and you can see that on a camera while you're doing it. So it takes a little bit of the abstractness out of it, and you can have real tangible impacts, which really helps cement ideas when you're learning. So we're always adding to these remote labs. We're really quite proud of them, I guess, and they're a pretty critical part, I think, of your learning with EIT. There's walkthroughs of sites and all kinds of things on there. So really beneficial part of studying with us. I'm going to switch gears for a little bit and talk about balancing your work life and studies now. So this is a little kind of formula, I guess, for thinking about how to balance your work life. So in the bottom left, or in the bottom vertical column, we have low well-being, which is where you might lack physical or mental or social well-being, or it's just really hard to manage those. And then at the top, we've got high well-being, which is where you're perfectly in, a state of equilibrium with your physical and mental and social well-being, and not just surviving, you're really thriving. On the horizontal, we have low boundary control at one end. So that's where you feel you may not have control over how you split your attention and divide your time. It can feel chaotic, really stressful place to be. And high boundary control, where you feel really in control of how you divide your attention. You plan things out, you know what you're doing with your time, much less stressful. Ideally, you want to be up here with high well-being and high boundary control. It's not always possible. And where you don't want to be is down here with low boundary control and low well-being. And we don't want you to be down there either. It's not a very positive place to work from. And it's not good for your health and well-being either. I know some people work really well with tight deadlines, last minute, that's where they absolutely perform. But when you're studying online, you've got to be really self-motivated. So you have to be able to plan your studies, plan your time so that you're not in a situation where you're having to ask for, questionable extensions the night before things are due. So what can you do to get up to that top right quadrant? My first suggestion is to engage everyone in your study journey. Make sure your work knows, your family knows. Get some realistic expectations about what you're going to be doing, and make sure that you communicate that well. It's important that, and you should be proud of pursuing continued study as well. So it's always nice to have people along for that journey. Having effective time management, as I've mentioned, is absolutely critical. There are so many tools out there now that can help you, and they might be as simple as having calendar events and putting your due dates in, using Moodle if you're, once you signed up for a course, but that's pretty critical. I'd encourage you to utilize mobile learning opportunities. So that might be watching a lecture on your way to work, on your commute. It might be doing your readings late at night, before you go to bed. So finding those small pockets of time that, sometimes all you have as a working adult or with a family, and just ticking off your tasks that way. Collaborating with peers and collaborative learning is huge. It's really helps build that community of learning. It gets you committed and you're accountable, which is good. There are so many ways to talk to your peers, and you can meet, even online. We have chats like this, just like you're talking in Blackboard. You can use forums, Teams, Facebook, WhatsApp, whatever you like, and start to build up those tips for study sessions. Really beneficial. Now, implementing relaxation techniques, we can't all take month-long trips to spas every year, but it's the simple things. So it might be listening to music or going for a walk around the block when you're really overwhelmed with study and work. Just taking a few minutes out of your day to do something you're really passionate about, and it can make a huge difference to your well-being. And finally, staying in touch with your learning support officers. So as I've said, they're pretty critical, and we find that the students who engage more with the LSOs, who attend more of their classes, tend to do better, not just passing, but academically better as well. And you'll get more out of the course if you're actively engaged in your studies and logging on, a few hours a week. So I'm going to go back to the scenario now, and considering a few of the things we've talked about, I'm going to get your thoughts and see if you have any other suggestions from your own experiences. Perhaps you've studied online before, or even in person. Would love to hear it. So again, it's Friday evening. You've had a really big day and you've got that assignment due, but you've got a lot of other demands on your time with family and with other obligations. Perhaps you're not mentally in the space where you want to be sitting down doing an assignment for 4 hours. So the first question I'm going to ask is, how do you think that being in a situation like that might impact your focus and motivation? Do you think you would be more motivated? And, perhaps some of you will, those who work, best under chaos. Or do you think it would be more stressful? Feel free to put your comments in the chat, guys. That's okay. Got a bit of a shy group. All right. So I think you know how it's going to make you feel. It's not, yeah, Daniel, it's more stressful. It's not a good place to be necessarily. And even if you do work really well under pressure, over time that can be detrimental, especially if you're in a longer course. You don't want to be doing this, every few months. So the strategies that you can use to get back on track, if anyone's got any suggestions for those. Is there anything that you do leading up to that that you think might help? Yeah, prioritize situations. some of you might have come across it before. There's a good little matrix that you can use, just a quadrant situation where things that are urgent and critical you get done first, and then there's urgent, not critical, and then non-urgent, non-critical, and critical but not urgent, I think. And finding your own process to help prioritize and triage your demands on your time will definitely help. It's something that you get better at with practice, really, but it can take away some of the stress. And yeah, taking down the easy tasks first. Yeah, sometimes it's good to like smash out the quick stuff. Some people prefer to do the hardest task first to get that pressure off their plate. I think you've got to find what works for you. Great. Thanks, guys. Time management is huge. All right, so I'm going to go through our course offerings a little bit, just so you know what the progression sort of can be through our courses. And if you see anything that might catch your eye, of course, you can always go to our website, and our wonderful team of course advisors can give you more information as well. So let's start with the professional certificates. They're our micro credentials, really. We are constantly looking for new topics that are really cutting edge. They're only 3 months and, you know, generally very niche. They have fortnightly webinars that run for 90 minutes, and attendance is required to those, or, you know, summaries are required to be provided. Whole range there. We're doing some on hydrogen at the moment as well, which is quite topical, green energy, that sort of thing. A bit going on with lithium, so lots of interesting fields. Then we get into our diplomas and advanced diplomas. Now these are our first of our accredited courses. So diplomas are 12 to 36 months part-time intensive, so there's no real breaks in them, but you only have one weekly webinar per module, and you do one module at a time generally. It's 60 minutes that you need, and then students tend to spend around 10 to 15 hours of their own study time in that as well. And attendance, like I said, is required to the webinars again. Then we get into our bachelor degrees, of which we have 4, so civil, electrical, industrial automation, and mechanical. Those require a bit more of a time commitment. So you're looking at doing multiple units at once, unlike the diplomas and advanced diplomas where you usually have 1, maybe 2 modules at a time. In the bachelor's, our online students tend to do about 3 units at a time, and each of those units has around 90 to 60 to 90-minute tutorials, live ones, once a week. And then there's additional study that you need to do in your own time, assignments, that sort of thing. And then we go into our masters, which is a similar kind of structure. Our online students tend to do 2 units at a time, and the bachelor's runs over semesters and the master's runs over terms. So 4 terms in a year or 2 semesters. And with the terms, you just do 2 units at a time. It was really, the masters and grad certs are very much designed for online cohorts. It's where we started delivering them. So, you know, we've seen really good success in that. It's not as demanding as doing, say, 4 or 5 units at once. And then finally, our Doctor of Engineering, which we've had for a couple of years now. Hugely important. It's by coursework, so you have some units to do, and then you also have, you know, your doctoral thesis, which you work on with your supervisor throughout. We've had students go through from prof certs, advanced diplomas, bachelors, masters, and a couple who are in doctoral degree now as well. It's so rewarding for me to see our students progress like that, or even just progress from like bachelors to masters or advanced diploma to bachelors. You know, it's really lovely to see students that have stayed with us on that journey, and we get to know them, you know, pretty well after that time, which is great too. There's a list of our on-campus programs. We have Perth, Melbourne, and Brisbane campuses at the moment. You can see all these on our website too. Oh, Aluki, what did you want to know about the bachelor's and advanced diplomas? Maybe in the Q&A at the end if you have specific questions. Pretty much in summary, from everything I've said, you can tell we've got a student-centered approach. We're not massive. So we definitely have the time to get to know our students, to customize your learning a little bit. We want to be flexible because we know that a lot of you are working. We are always looking for, ways to find meaningful accreditation for our courses. A few of them are Engineers Australia accredited, like Lisa mentioned in the beginning. On-campus students, we do internships. We, have other work-related activities that students can do. We have scholarships which are available online. You can have a look at those on our website. We try and stay competitive with our tuition fees. Pretty important to us to make learning as accessible as we can for as many people as we can. We want to maintain that quality though, of course. And we're very committed to your lifelong journey of education, women in engineering, and practical outcomes. So I think that's all from me. We do have Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat and I'll address it then, or you can wait until the end and then we can go through it with you then. Thanks.
Thanks, Natalie. Hi, everyone. My name is Lee Gaunt. I study with EIT currently. I'm doing the Bachelor of Science Mechanical Engineering. Currently, I work as a project manager for an engineering company here in Perth, Western Australia. Began my studies in February 2020, and I'm set to graduate end of this year. I've got just a capstone and 2 more subjects to go. So my experience with EIT so far has been really amazing. I've had the opportunity to collaborate with one of the lecturers, Darmit Thakur. I believe he takes process plant and piping layout and also the AutoCAD subjects. And as you can see in these pictures, this picture here on the left, that was a design and construct and install project for a storage vessel designed to API 650. So me and Dummy, we worked through all the design together and the report, the engineering reports, and then I oversaw all the fabrication and installation and decommissioning of the other of the previous tank that was there. On the right here was another project where we had to fabricate these 1.2 meter diameter vapor ducts, all out of 316 stainless, and they were 10 meters long and about, I think, 6 meters wide in total. So we had to come up with a design for transport to fit under the wide load and or over width and over height for WA roads. So me and Darmit worked through that again as well, which is really good, and just shows that the lecturers that they have at EIT are still very much connected with industry. They're not just reading from textbooks. They have sound knowledge of engineering processes and using that industry at the moment. The most challenging part of studying online, Natalie really highlighted all these before in her previous slides. It takes discipline to do online study because you need to have structure for yourself and just have dedication, and you need to prioritize time management. My cousin actually said to me, he's an engineer as well, and he said university isn't meant for you to fail. It just requires time management and dedication. And personally, mastering the time management has been the biggest hurdle. I have 2 small children, so father and I work full time, so anywhere between 50 and 70 hours a week, depending if there's a shutdown on or not. But over the past 4 years, I've consistently completed 3 units per semester and successfully passed each one. So it can be done. Like some of you have highlighted before, the different time zones. So previously, my last subject was project management, and that was lectured by John Lawrence, and he was actually located in Spain. So every Tuesday I would wake up at 2:45 so I could watch the lecture at 3 a.m. And then later that night I would have a HVAC lecture at 6:30. So yeah, you just got to juggle what you can, and just have that structure. Why did I choose to study online? Well, being a mature age student, I'm 36 this year, attending on campus classes was never feasible for me. Um, and also having a full-time managerial job, which, like I said, required me to work 50 hours minimum, and caring for 6 and 8-year-old children, plus managing a mortgage, left me with no flexibility. And given these commitments, online study was the best option for me. Um, and would I recommend online study? I definitely would. Online study is amazing. You don't have to, give up commitments you already have, like at work. It's easily, it's honestly, it's easily manageable because, like Natalie said, if you miss the live lecture, it records and you just watch it later on in your own time and just submit a brief uh, summary on that lecture. No, that they have that really good online, what is it, online support through Moodle, that platform. So, you can download it. I download it on my phone, and you can, you know, study really anywhere. If you're on a bus or a train, you can go on your phone, go to the pre-recorded lectures, and just listen to them on your headphones. I've had it Bluetooth streaming through my car when I've been on long drives, and just listen to pre-recorded lectures that way. So it's really good that you can study anywhere, anytime. I'll hand you over to the next student ambassador, Jonathan, now.
Yeah, thanks, Lee. I'm just going to everyone to confirm they can hear me. I had a bit of audio problems earlier. So if you can just, yep, say yes, yep, thank you very much. So obviously people can hear me. Yeah, so I was a fitter and turner, and I just actually just completed the advanced diploma in mechanical engineering. And I'll be going into the mechanical engineering bachelor's degree, which will start next month. And I'll explain why this next slide. So I'm in rural Victoria, pretty much almost near the centre, but I'm actually outside of the closest major city, Bendigo. It takes about 20 minutes to get there. But the biggest challenge for me with doing on-campus stuff is I'm actually legally blind, vision impaired. So yeah, it's getting to the campus was going to be a difficult thing, and yeah, it was going to make it extremely difficult to get to campuses, even though I'm currently not working. I am, however, looking for work, and I manage a lot of the stuff at home. I manage 2 rental properties, and yeah, go out and chop firewood. So I have got some vision. It's not like I can't see it all, but it's just not enough to do the hands-on stuff that I used to do in a workshop situation. I still fiddle and play around with cars and do things for myself, but it's very hard to convince a employer that I can do these things. I think it's particularly their safety concerns. So I also have a 3-year-old daughter, and yeah, she was sort of getting sick a lot. And yeah, as I've mentioned, I'm going into the bachelor's. So I looked through all the bachelor's degrees, particularly, and found that it was like very comprehensive, and not only that, most of them they might have had online components, but they were sort of a mixed thing between online and on campus, and having to go to the campus, particularly a few of them were in Melbourne, would have taken me hours to get there and hours to get back, and I just felt that I wanted to do the online one. So yeah, I definitely recommend it. Like Lee, because it's as I sort of touched on before, it was very difficult to it'd be very difficult to manage all the daily tasks and uh, living with a family. As I mentioned, my daughter's 3 and my wife has 2 chronic illnesses. Now my wife also still works 3 days a week, and my daughter getting sick meant that she was home from daycare and I'd have to look after her, and then I'd have to do other tasks. I'd sort of I look after all the wood chopping. Scary thinking about a blind man doing wood chopping, but as I mentioned, I do have some vision. It's not that bad that I'll chop my arm off. Hang on a minute. Uh, so I was even flooded in during the course, because there was major flooding in Victoria, which I was basically surrounded by a couple of creek, which is it runs through the back of my property, but meant we couldn't get into Bendigo and the river on the other side. So I wouldn't have been able to attend anywhere, pretty much. This also meant, though, that further upstream where I've got my rental properties, one of them got flooded, and I've since been managing getting that repaired. And if I was studying on campus and doing study where I had these set times that I have to go and be there, I feel that I wouldn't have been able to manage some of that. There was, with any sort of project, there's issues. There was issues with just the kitchen didn't have every piece that it was supposed to have, so I had to ring Bunnings and bring the builder back, and just do a lot of organising of different things during the day, as well as all the other things in order to keep life going. And I even got sick myself, and you wouldn't really want to attend a class where you had to drive 20 minutes and then sit in the classroom with everyone else and things. So I was able to attend that, and while sick. I mean, I think Lee mentioned something about this, that he got up early uh, to watch a class. I'm unsure whether the bachelor's is a bit like the diplomas in this aspect, but there was 2 lectures for every class. So as in 2 times of the day. One of them sort of was late night and or early to late evening, and the other one always seemed to be very early morning for me. And there was a couple of occasions where I either missed the first class or I had technical issues with the internet. So I log on again to the later class, and I found that was really good. So I thought it was really good being online with people from all over the world, because we just have general conversations about things that are going on in the world. I mentioned earlier, or in the chat, I asked people what the weather was like, pretty much, and it seems to be pretty cold most places at the moment. It was I think it was 8 in Perth, but it's a bit cooler in Victoria here where I am. About 7 degrees it was. And it was particularly good to talk about different parts of the industry and things, and particular job roles and things that other people had. I've got a mine up the road, and it was in a group assignment that we did. I was lucky enough to be placed with, I think it was 4 people that had worked in mines, and 3 of them were in pretty much a position that I want to move myself into. And yeah, I was able to ask them, with my vision problems, would there be any reason why I couldn't do this sort of job, knowing that it was a predominantly office-based role, and they sort of agreed that no, I shouldn't be able. I wouldn't be any reason why I couldn't do that sort of work, and so that was really reassuring to me that there's something at the end of the journey. So the online study has really helped me with uh, time management, uh, time management, uh, developing communication skills, and like being able to balance these, work and life balance sort of thing. Because it gives you the skills to work remotely, which more and more these days I see stuff that they want you to be able to work remotely, and with a lot of the modern SCADA systems, that there's no need to go and actually go to see the uh, HDMI panel to get the data off it, and it can all be done through a PC, and I think I feel that learning some of these skills and things has just helped me to get ready to work in that sort of environment. I think that's all from me. Yeah, that's. I thought there was a question inside.
Maybe the next one. Thanks so much, Jonathan and Lee. Really insightful and particularly important, noting that it helps you work. Studying online helps you learn how to work remotely effectively. That might even give you more job prospects in the future, where you can broaden your horizons and really, especially at the higher levels of engineering, consultancy is always appealing. So definitely a valuable take. Okay. Oh, we are missing our Q&A. So yeah, I think we can jump into Q&A. We've had a few questions in the chat about the courses and scholarships. Best place to go, because we could get right into detail, but we probably don't have enough time today, is to go on our website. If it's course related, you can speak to our course advisors and they can point you in the right direction or give you a bit more information and go from there. Now, I didn't get to give you the self-evaluation for the work-life balances. So I'm just going to post that in the chat now. If you give me 1 second. There you go. So feel free to take that link. It's not graded or anything. It's just something you can do to maybe gauge where you're at as far as balancing your own work life and study, and maybe where you can find areas to improve or areas that you might need a bit of support on. So other than that, if there's no other questions, okay, I'll give it a few seconds in case anyone else has anything they'd like to put in the chat. Otherwise, thank you so much for attending today. I hope you found it useful. And if there's anything else you'd like to ask us, please get in touch. We're always happy to help.
All right. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation, Natalie. I'm sure our students here had learned how to balance their time with their studies and with their personal life and career as well. And we would like to also thank the student ambassadors who had shared their background and experiences so that other people can also um, have them as their role models. So thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your knowledge and experiences on this topic. So if you have further questions regarding our webinars or our upcoming webinars or anything related to the topic today, you can send an email to webinars@eit.edu.au. And if you would like to know more about our courses, you can also go to our website. Just go to the course schedule part, and that's www.eit.edu.au for our website. Just um, put in slash schedule, and you can see the scheduled upcoming courses in there. And you can click on those links to see the information for each course as well. And for those who are in Perth or in Australia and would like to have a look at our campus or visit our head office, you can coordinate with you can go directly to our head office to coordinate that, or you can send us an email to coordinate beforehand. Our address is 6 and 8 Thomas Street, West Perth, in Perth. And for those who'd like to give us a call and talk to our course advisors, you can, if you are inside Australia, you can use our 1300 number that you can see on the screen. And for those who are calling from outside Australia, we have our +61 number from there. And you can also use that to request for a course advisor. And you can also go to our courses on our website, and there's a chat option there, and our course advisors will be online, um, most likely 24/7 to cater to all your questions. And that's it. Thank you so much for attending the webinar today. Natalie, do you have anything else to say before we end the webinar?
No, thank you very much for hosting, Lisa, at the last minute. Very much appreciated. Theophilus, when you ask, about job opportunities post-study, definitely had some of our graduates come back to instruct or help with material creation or with the remote labs or to lecture for us. So, it's always something that's an opportunity that's out there. Um, you know, so if when you get to the end of your studies, feel free to ask. And Roshan asked how to scan the code for today's webinar. Lisa?
Hi, Roshan. We don't have a code to scan today because this is not a technical webinar. We won't be issuing any certificates, so there is no need to scan anything like a code or a link to request a certificate. But if you need a recording, a copy of the recording and a copy of the PDF slides, we will be sending that out to you all in the next 2 business days through your email addresses that you use to register. So no, no need to scan anything. Okay, you're welcome, Roshan. And thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. We appreciate your attendance. And please visit our website for the other upcoming webinars. You might see some technical webinars that will match your line of work or the career that you'd like to pursue, and you can get a free e-certificate for those technical ones. So just go ahead and keep yourselves posted by visiting our events page. Thank you so much, everyone. We are ending the webinar now. And again, for further questions and inquiries, please reach us reach out to us in any of the communication channels that we posted on the slide. Have a great day, everyone.